Hi, it's Mark from the Gently Grown Homestead, and welcome to our vlog where we are going to talk about potatoes. How these beauties were put in the ground, what we did new this year, what we did the same, that is coming all right up. So there are some potatoes that made it from last season through the winter, whatever was digging around here. These are definitely potato plants just popping up. I might try, oh, another one over here. I might try to put off my potato planting another week to see what pops up and then plant wherever the bare spots are. More, yeah. All right. Transplanting kale. I scared a worm out. I must have hit it, so I dug a hole till it was moist in the soil so it could get back in here. Worms are good. Slow, slow. There we go. So I'm trying to get a good angle so you can see. I'll bend down a little bit. There we go. So I tarped off the two different sides of the farm, the beds back here that I hadn't planted, I wasn't using yet, to stop the weeds from growing. They were already starting to come in pretty strong with, we had heavy rains and now we're having some strong sun. And I just can't get to 30-ish beds just immediately. This is a nice organic way to do things. You put it's called a silage tarp down. It lets no light in and it blocks the weeds. This is instead of heavy till, which is terrible for the soil. It releases a lot of carbon into the atmosphere, if that's something you think about. And it also prevents especially any kind of harmful chemicals like Roundup. I always go to Roundup because it's probably the most famous, dangerous, deadly, toxic chemical that's used. I won't have to spray anything on these weeds. I won't have to till up a foot into the soil and destroy all the soil life. But this way I can slowly remove the tarp, work on one bed at a time planting without the weeds coming in so strong that I just can't keep up. That sort of happened last year towards the end of the summer at least. So this half I did yesterday. It takes a while to move this by yourself. And the other half I just finished now. You can see in the middle, that's where I started planting this season. That is all the stuff you've seen. There's half a dozen or more beds right now that are planted. I got another one ready to go. Plus the fruit guild I've been working on the front. And the root stout rows with the wood chips here. These are not tarped, because the way you get rid of weeds on this is you just add a bunch of mulch. So I'm gonna plant potatoes here. Probably that's the next project today. Plant potatoes and add a ton of mulch to cover all these weeds, which is another alternative to the tarps I have going over here. The difference is you can't use wood chips on the farm beds because you can't seed. I mean, you can do anything you want. What I'm saying is it's much more difficult. You can't use a Jang seeder where you just walk behind it. It takes a lot longer to seed and things like that, to maintain. You can do it, but this is a lot easier and still a very passive, eco-friendly way, organic way of doing things. We got carrots popping up. These are tougher to germinate too. They take a long time to germinate. They require sandy soil, so you can't throw on compost to help retain moisture, but they need even moisture. So anytime I see carrots germinating, it's a very good thing. So we're gonna plant potatoes today. Got my helper ready.
Plant potatoes.
We're gonna plant potatoes. We got the shovel. We love the shovel.
Yes, I need the shovel too.
Yeah, yes, you do. I'm actually gonna add a third row this year. There's no reason this little bit of sod, the grass in between the garlic and the potatoes is just in the way. I have to mow it or let it go. I'm just gonna cover it with wood chips and grow an extra row of potatoes. I have plenty of potatoes this year, so there's no issue filling 3 50-foot rows now. So we're gonna go do that. And to plant these rows, I'm gonna put the potatoes down first this year and the mulch on top. The only reason I put the mulch down last year is because I didn't put the mulch down. I had tractor here, thanks again Dave, and dropped all these wood chips for me, so I dug into the wood chips to plant the potatoes. But usually, traditionally, with the Ruth Stout method, especially, you hear me talk about, you put the potato just on the ground. I'm just gonna put it on the sod, even potatoes, and I'm just gonna cover it with a wheelbarrow of wood chips. We'll get your yellow gloves. I forgot to mention, we did have a good amount of the fingerling potatoes from last year sprout back up. They survived the winter and the pests we've had and the weeds that have not been mulched out yet. I'm still gonna plant in this area. I'll just keep it as fingerlings. We're growing those again. So what we did is, I just used a tape measure to plant the potatoes, space them out 1 foot apart, no matter the variety. And I used the stakes to let us know where the new variety started in the 50-foot row. If you could follow all that. Now we're gonna pile on a ton of wood chips. Here we go. No. Yes. So 3 rows of potatoes mulched heavily with wood chips. In case there's not enough mulch on some of them, or just because it's freshly mulched, some things like to investigate and dig, I'm gonna add some garlic pepper spray, just garlic and pepper, cayenne pepper, to deter them. They don't really like those tastes and smells. Just installed shade cloth on the greenhouse. Keep it cooler in there as we go into the hotter months, and livable for not just the plants, but me too. It's a 50% shade cloth. It's a lot easier to install than a plastic because it does not have to be so taut. It's very porous. This is 50%, so anyway, the wind will blow through it rather than act like a big parachute like the plastic, which is why you have to tie that down so well. So this is on, and inside it is definitely shaded, right? A little darker, but also already cooler without doing anything else. And 50% shade cloth blocks 50% of the light, the heat, really, through the greenhouse effect. Before I was just standing here. It's only 70 or just over 70 today. But I was baking in here. And I have one of the side curtains up too, the door open. I had this, it's the middle to end of May now. I know I'm gonna need this for the summer, so today was the day. It's up. Looks like our first radish is about up. When they're out of the ground, just poking out of the ground like that. And this is the Pink Beauty. That's the right color. That looks good. Nothing else is yet. The end is a little ahead of the rest of the row, but that means the next week to 2 weeks, we'll have 50 feet of radish. I just finished watering, or the sprinklers did, and you can see, I don't know if you can see in the video, the rows of beets a lot more clearly now popping up, and a bird eating my worms. Leave the worms alone. So you might be able to tell, I'm just hanging out in my greenhouse, and you may not have seen the video or remember, but I leveled out the ground. There was a little bit of a slope, so I threw in a bunch of weed stuff I hoed out from a couple of the rows I did early on, and I piled on wood chips on top of it. And in the middle or so of my greenhouse, there is now corn growing. One of the rows I hoed out had corn in it last year, and there must have been a kernel that was good. And now, with the greenhouse being warmer, it's kept the temperatures warm overnight too. The corn has very healthily, successfully germinated. I will, I don't want to pull this out, but it's kind of in the middle of the greenhouse and it's gonna have to go. Don't worry, I'll plant more corn out in the field. And that's it for now. Make sure you like and follow to make sure you catch all new content from the Gently Grown Homestead. Thanks again, be well and grow.